Good morning, you lovely beings. From near and far, we have a marvelous coverage of the United States today. Clear up to, of course, San Jose with Ed, and then to the Northwest, Teresa, across the United States to the frozen wastelands of Chicago, maybe beginning to thaw. I hope so. Over across to North Carolina and dear Asheville. And of course, then back to the heartland of the Americas, into Oklahoma, and then into the Denver, Boulder area. Very exciting. Down to the Dallas, Phoenix area. We don't know if Jan is in Dallas or Phoenix. She bilocates, so we're not sure. And then over to San Diego, the coast, and then up the coast to beautiful Carmel, California, where Du and I are here, sheltered in. Very exciting day today. We're going to be doing a lot of new and different things. One of them will be centered around the breath work and using the breath in very dynamic ways to stimulate the vagus nerve, a nerve that goes from the very base of the spine. It comes up and then splits into two sections and feeds the brain. It's called the nerve of compassion and peace. So we'll be using breath to work with that. We'll start off with our first meditation this morning. We're all very familiar with it, but I will take you through the opening steps. We will begin the meditation, of course, with the breath work. We talked already about the So-Hum breath. The So is the drawing in from the open doorway within the center of the star tetrahedron, which is the heart. In India, of course, they called it the jewel in the lotus when the heart chakra was awakened and source was arising forth from within. It actually glowed, and this is when we see images of Christ or other illuminated beings, we see that there is a light emanation from the chest heart area. This is the jewel in the lotus that is actually glowing with light and life, just like the sun, because source is now igniting it from inside out. The open doorway is now literally feeding source into the star, which then prismatically refracts and reflects it in a multiplication of energy out into the world and the reality. The So-Hum is the summoning from the open doorway. It is the sound of also the Ujjayi breathing. If any of you are familiar with yoga, one of the things that we do in yoga is we gently restrict the throat to create a sound. So I'll do that very loud just for a moment. It is the So. And of course, that's a very exaggerated sound. When we're doing the So-Hum breath, you don't need to constrict the throat. Just know that it is the So, the summoning, which is the sound of spirit arising forth. And as we then hold just for a few moments, a gentle pause, and then we feel ourselves exhaling, we then imagine and feel the light emanate through the energy field of the body, the field all around us, and then shining out into the world. So this is the essence of the So-Hum breath. As I have mentioned many times before, I often do the So-Hum breath driving, walking, doing a lot of gardening right now. So again, as I'm always busy throughout the day, keeping the mind very focused on the breath of life moving from within. The other thing that's going to be important today and really important in all of our work is to continue to see the spine very straight and erect, almost as though there is a string at the top of the head and it gently keeps pulling you up. And so as you're breathing and doing the star work, gently feel all the time the elongation of the spine. The other important aspect is we're not trying. We're not bringing any sense of power or any sense of, essence of I'm really trying to do this. We're simply seeing. because this is the two keys, I should say, to really all manifestation as cosmic manifestation. The manifestation of all creation is simply the ability to focus light, which is power, focus light so precisely and hold attention and intention with that light, and then imagine, which we would also call dreaming. And so this is how Source dreams the universe. There is the imagination of what Source would desire, the holding of imagination. And of course, the great Source being that we call God, if you will, is able then to focus light so precisely through multiple creations, creating the galaxies, the sun, all creation. And these are, again, subset beings, so to speak, fields of consciousness of God's Source that are holding then light, very focused, precise attention light. That's power. And then imagining, and in the imagination, it becomes real. It actually gathers around it the essence of the universe that we call the Oma. And in Sanskrit, they call it Akasha. So it actually then coalesces into form. It's like when we look at the galaxies forming, we see stardust, which is simply hydrogen. As it begins to gather together, it finally coalesces and ignites into a star. And so this is the same way in which we are able then to focus light, hold intention, imagination, and then coalesce it into actual life essence manifestation. So we will do the Soham breath, and then after the Soham breath, we will then move right into about a 30-minute meditation with the star tetrahedron. And of course, you all know that the star tetrahedron is apex above the focusing of power. The base of the spine is the apex of divine love, and as these two counter-rotating triangulations are occurring, that's what then opens the sacred doorway within the middle. As I mentioned in my email that I sent out this morning, chat is available, so whoever would like to have a question or a comment, I already see Teresa Day saying, hello, my friend. So stay with us and let's be mutually involved in this beautiful work today. So let's do about 5 minutes of the Soham breath. I will do it again with eyes open. The So is the in-breathing from inside out. Open doorway, So, breath, Source arising forth. Let your pauses elongate. Really fill the belly with the breath, fill the lungs, and as you hum, let go, you then imagine and feel this light eminent shining through every cell, the tissues of the body, the molecules are open and expanding, as then the Soham is feeding you and feeding life from inside out. So let's begin the Soham breath. Okay. Mm-hmm. Low on battery. So a very beautiful thing, the Soham breath. We're going to be doing a lot of work with the breath today. A lot of different techniques around the breath. But now I'd like to move into our meditation, the Star Tetrahedron meditation. We all know that it's the very center of our work. Carmel in the Holy Land, then Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and many others learned the technique of creating the Christ system. Now, Jesus was a man and he was taught the Christ system, which is the ability to harness divine power, upper triangulation, sacred love, and then create a almost like a wave form of light and consciousness around and through the body that had the image of the star tetrahedron. It's a quantum field of energy that is then moving around and through upper triangulation, divine power, and it is turning left to right. I like to see the apex just about the roof of the mouth, and then the base right at the coccyx, the base of the spine. As we know, it can be much larger. But I found for myself, because the third eye is the focusing of power, that if the top of the triangulation is resting right at the third eye, then I'm able to use my power, the essence of divine attention, then to esoterically see the movement of the star tetrahedron. I'm seeing it in back, very importantly, in front and all around. And so upper triangulation, left to right. I'm observing and seeing it. Lower triangulation, right to left, counterclockwise. And it's these counter-rotating vortices of power and love in the mystical marriage, as it turns very rapidly, the interior of this triangulation, it creates a dodecahedron, which we talked about are the 12 signs of the zodiac, representing that a human being has moved through all 12 signs of the zodiac and in their incarnation has learned all of the essence and qualities that then encompass the zodiac and now marries them back into the Christ wave. And so as it is spinning very rapidly, because you have mastered all the aspects of creation through your movement through the star system, you then are able to open the doorway back into source, and then all power and love symbolically is now given unto you, because you will only do the will esoterically of God, source, whatever you should like to call it. But in fact, what you are really doing is the will of the God that you are then awakening within you. That once you open the doorway, what you see inside the open doorway is but yourself, source. And from out of source, you then created a system of light and love that you have then woven into a triangulation of form within a dimensional world that you can now open once again that doorway and summon yourself into life manifestation. So literally the light body of a divine being. I'll take you through the quick formulation of the star tetrahedron, and for about 35 minutes, we will simply be in the star tetrahedron meditation. Again, spine always being brought gently up, and the star is moving directly through the spine, apex to apex, around and then back. As it again flows, the open doorway, and then source, a magnificent eternal spring arising forth touching the facets of this star tetrahedron and then refracting, reflecting in a multiplication of light from you. Just as the sun is a magnificent star tetrahedron, it shines out living force from it. Same to us. We become the sons and the daughters of light. So let's go ahead and close the eyes, please. And feel the body relaxing. Feel the body relaxing, letting go. We can even begin the Soham breath quietly behind. Throughout the entire meditation, we can be using the Soham to focus the mind as breath from source out, letting go. And then slowly and gently, let's bring our attention between the eyebrows. And as we draw a line straight back into the area of the pineal gland within the center of the head, this is the seat of the soul, an outpost of the great light being you are. And holding attention here, you ignite with imagination the electric blue light of divine mind. Often called electric fire. And holding attention here, feel the light increasing. An electric blue light that begins to fill the mind. Fills the brain. The light of the soul, divine and sacred. We can focus the light to the heart chakra at the sternum, where with imagination we illuminate the star tetrahedron. Upper triangulation of divine power, apex above, is turning left to right clockwise. Lower triangulation, divine love, is turning right to left counterclockwise. You can imagine that the Soham is assisting in the turning of the star. And within the very center, in the area of the heart, in the chest, the great doorway opens back into the realms of Source, Eternal Spirit, I am. Arising forth as a living spring, touching the facets of the spinning star to become sunlight, healing love and light emanating through and all around you. Quietly, the Soham breath. Let's sit quietly together, and I will gather every one of us into the light activation of the star tetrahedron. And so very easily now, slowly coming back into the now. One of the important things to be observant of when we do the star tetrahedron work is that we are going beyond the body, not a negation of the body, but we are so imbuing it with light that the molecular structure is letting go. And in that letting go, we are beginning to live more outside the body, within the fields of energy that surround us. And today we'll be talking in much greater detail about the great torus field of divine mind that is really the area that we truly from mind are living within, and we are holding in molecular suspension the physical form as a doorway within three-dimensionality and the many joys that three-dimensionality brings: perfume, sweetness of food, intimacy of relationship, the beauty of Mother Earth, on and on. What a great manifest body of Source God to play within. It's just that when it overshadows us and we feel that we have to manipulate it or control it to find what we need, we then become lost in our power and manipulation. Rather than from the true state of being, the endemic state, if you will, we're able to focus light so precisely as the great God being you are, the soul. Hold imagination with such clarity and precision that the essence of Source arising forth, the Eoma, the essence of Source, it then literally begins to clothe it in manifestation, and we become a creator of our needs rather than manipulating. And so in that sense, we become a co-creator with this great being, Mother Earth, and create another literally heaven on earth experience. And of course, this is the evolutionary journey of humanity, now moving from out of the old paradigm, and we can see the great crumbling of it at all levels now. And it is just the movement into a new paradigm of light activation. And yet, who will choose that light activation? That's the key. So this is a time of great change, to say the least. If you have any questions about that particular segment, your work with the star tetrahedron, please let us know on chat. We will take now exactly a 10-minute break. Drink lots of water today, please. And we'll be back at 10:50. It's now 10:40 my time. So we'll be back in exactly 10 minutes. Thank you. Just tell me. Is your thing charging?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's it went from 80 to 92, so it's changing.
Okay.
I lost you for a while, but then I just had to push the arrow,
Right.
and then you came back. It's good.
Well, I came back.
You came back, which I was delighted. Oh my goodness, you came back.
Delighted. And welcome back. There was a question from Francis. Of course, she said hello to everyone. Francis in a beautiful Boulder. About the chaos that's taking place right now on the planet. How long do I think it's going to last? Well, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine maybe into June, and the repercussions financially will probably be difficult. But if we are living in a place of health and prosperity within, because we are literally summoning source from inside out, then we observe what is going on and we understand with great compassion. But it doesn't bother or worry us because we truly feel and know that source from inside out is manifesting, even though we may not be able to actually manifest instantly from the star tetrahedron work. But we know and feel that the feeling of prosperity and health and joy is gathering to us the perfect circumstances, things to fulfill us. If we have any fear or worry, it does create clouds within the energy field of the aura, and they will vibrate out, and they do attract to us something that must be reflected within our life. So we truly are learning that we're being a great drama, sometimes a comedy, sometimes a drama of life, and we are the ones that are creating it, often unconsciously, because we're not really aware that it's the soul that is really the great being that has been moving the puppet of the body in coordination, total coordination with all beings upon the planet, with Mother Earth, to unfold a teaching, a wisdom in evolution. And now with moving of 2012 into a new sign within the galaxy, from out of Pisces into Aquarius, the pouring out of a new living water, the feminine waters of feeling and truth, we find that the great change is now at hand as we move towards 2020. So the living water is then able to flow from us inside out. It's why we become ever more dedicated and focused and aligned with we are the creator of our reality. No longer just a thought that we have been learning and gathering information from the mind about through so many beautiful teachers, but now we know that we have the tool that was mastered by Jesus as the Christ 2,000 years ago. And he said, I will come again. Well, this is you and I. We are here with the knowledge, the apocalypse, the unveiling of the knowledge. That's what apocalypse means, the unveiling. And this is the unveiling of the knowledge that you too are source. The Father was within you, source, and through this beautiful technique, you become the dynamic knowing creator of your reality. So be at peace and know that whatever is the prompting from your heart, as far as finance, as far as food, that you're very aware of that. I went out this last couple of weeks, and because we are sheltered in, creating a very beautiful garden, spending a lot of time outside with Mother Nature. And I'm very fortunate that we have some space here. But again, any type of gardening, it's great fun, it's great joy, and it's something that gives me great peace. So peace be upon you. Who's
communication from Jan?
Oh, hi, Jan.
She says she has lost transmission.
Just press on your, there should be a little button at the bottom of your live stream. And if we just press that little button again, you're on live stream, aren't you?
I'm back.
Yeah, there should be a little button. Just go down there where it says the little button, the arrow that pressed live again. Sometimes if there's a glitch in our internet, it's been real precise here, but if there's a glitch in our internet at home, then it can. Here, let me see if I can text Jan.
She's not hearing us.
Oh, she's not. That's right.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about one of the major end works of our work today. The focus of our work is going to be around the creation of mana. This is a image picture of mana. And as you can see, there is falling from out of the sky what looks like wafers. When I experience mana, it's almost like plasma discs, not necessarily round discs, but plasma discs of some size. And these plasma discs of actual source energy, they're a creation that we learn how to actually summon within our work. And so this is really one of the major end goals of our work today, learning how to create mana. It is the body of the Christ, and the wafer that was given in the Catholic tradition, the Eucharist, is a symbol of the mana from heaven, the body of Christ. But the body of Christ is created from the emanation of the star tetrahedron within, that then moves out from you into the torus field, and then it seeds. And again, we'll go through all of this. It actually seeds the torus field like a womb with energy, and the energy then manifests as mana that then settles down upon the body and begins to dynamically change its structure. So this is the work that we're working with today. And so everything that we do is leading us towards the understanding of this particular work, the mana. When I first experienced mana, it was almost like, again, plasma discs that were falling from out of the heavens upon the body. And as they touched the body, it almost felt as though there was a melting and a seeping into the physical structure of the body and changing it quite dynamically. The first time was somewhat of a spontaneous awakening to this great feeling of mana. And I was feeling a change in the body so dynamically that when it finally stopped, I literally was sobbing for maybe a half an hour. It was such a phenomenal feeling of ecstasy. And then for the next half hour after that, I sobbed more because I felt so bereaved that it had gone away. And I wondered, well, where do I find it now? But now I know it's something that we create through the star tetrahedron work. And I just found this very beautiful image of exactly what I experienced as these plasma discs falling from out of the heaven. So the breath is a major part of learning how to do this. And again, this is another image that I want to show you now that we're going to be working with the breath and the vagus nerve that goes from the very base of the spine, the coccyx, and it goes up and it literally feeds all the nerves of the internal organs. And then it splits and it goes up the sides of the spine, the Ida, the Bengali, and then it then has its lodging point within the head, and then even touches into the pineal gland and ignites it. So this is the vagus nerve. It is called the nerve of compassion and peace because if the vagus nerve, there I am close on, if the vagus nerve is that when there is a deep and focused breath, like when we're walking in the woods, we have been by the beach breathing fresh air, we maybe with a pet or a loved one. There's a great sense of deep, deep peace within, is because we've been breathing in quietly and deeply without the mind getting in the way and doing a lot of thinking or judging or criticizing. It's the thinking of the mind and its judgment and criticism that the breath is then shallow and we're no longer really breathing deeply. And so this is also connected then to the so-hum. And so in this particular breath experience, I'd like to have us begin to enliven the vagus nerve. And we're going to do it again with the so-hum. But as we breathe in with the so, I'm going to invite you then to see yourself breathing down to the very base of the spine, right where you're sitting. And then with the hum, I'm going to invite you then to feel the breath, the vagus nerve moving up to the very pineal gland. And as you then hold for a minute, once again, the so breathing in down to the base of the spine, you're breathing down as you hold for a moment and then hum. You're breathing up. And then again, so down to the base of the spine. And it's this deep belly breathing. We're filling the body quite profoundly with breath. That was, we're breathing down with, and it's stimulating the vagus nerve into a place of more peace and quietness. And then later you'll see how we're going to connect this with the energy field of the torus. Question?
We have a question from Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
And she says, is it okay to be laying down? My back is giving me a little trouble today.
Yes, we can do that. It's not the absolute best, but if we're having a little bit of tension or even if we're a little sick, we can lay down and then know that even though we are supine, laying down, we're still breathing again up and down. It's just somewhat of a illusion in one way that again, we're vertical and it takes a lot of sometimes focus to lay down and know that I'm breathing again up and down. So it's okay, just be quite, again, focused. So let's go ahead and do the so-hum breath, the breathing down to the base of the spine. And as we're breathing in, again, quite deeply, so from out of the open doorway, so we're really allowing the belly to expand with breath. Most people, they breathe shallow within the upper part of the lungs. So now we're really breathing down deep to the coccyx. Holding for a few counts and then letting go, breath, the hum, breathing very up to the very pineal gland between the eyebrows. And so we're connecting the coccyx where the mother kundalini is, and with the breath to then the pineal gland where the essence of the father is. This is the connection of the mother, the father. So let's do the so-hum breath. If you want to breathe with eyes open, please do, or eyes closed, whatever you choose. Base of the spine, hold. up to the pineal gland. From the heart, so. To the base of the spine, hold. Up the spinal cord to the pineal gland, hold. And in your rhythm, always the spine is being pulled up. Body relaxing, tension letting go, breathing. When we are breathing, the mind cannot be thinking. Lengthen the pause, deepen the breath to the base of the spine, to the pineal gland, from the open doorway. Breathing up and down the spine. Be focused. Breathe deeply. Did you hear back from Jan?
Yes, Jan is back.
Oh, good. Hi, Jan. Yeah, if the live stream stops, either go down into the left part of the YouTube and press the button, or if there's been a glitch in your internet, you simply paste the link I gave you back into your browser, and it should come back up again. So any thoughts or questions, my friends, about the stimulating of the vagus nerve and the energy flow from the coccyx, kundalini, and then from there up the spine, again through the pineal or the ada and the pingali, the two nerves that go up the side of the spinal column. And as they then enter, they then come up around the back of the ears and through the jaws. It's these big nerves here on either side, and then they center into then the pineal gland. So this is then the connection of mother, base of the spine, kundalini, and then father at the crown chakra, which becomes the flow of living life up and down through the spine. And so the breath is a very beautiful way to stimulate that. Any questions at all? Okay.
I have something from Frances.
Yep.
She says, hello everyone, sending love. Will you explain what is going on? Oh, this is another one. I thought when we did the breath, we started at sacrum and breathe up.
Well, we do, but what we're doing at this particular exercise, we're learning more that breath is really coming from the interior of the heart. And so as we're breathing source, again, this is always the focus of our work. We're breathing from out of the heart, the open doorway source. And just for this exercise, we were then feeling ourselves breathing down to the base of the spine, igniting the base of the spine, and then breathing it up to the pineal gland, and then back to the heart, where once again we summon source. Now, if we're not breathing from the source opening, if we're not familiar with the star tetrahedron work, then most individuals who do breath work, they simply go down to the base of the spine and they breathe up to the pineal gland. But we are learning how to summon a life force that goes beyond what just is the physical body to actually summon source from inside out. So simply be with me in this and open the doorway at the heart, and you're breathing now source field energy out. It's going down to the base of the spine as though we are igniting it, and then exiting the breath up to the pineal gland. So it's just one simple exercise. And what we're doing, you see, we're becoming familiar with the energy of movement up and down the spine, because this is the next place where we're going to be going in our work, understanding the spinal column, which is where the star tetrahedron is centered, apex at the pineal gland, and then the coccyx, the base of the spine, and directly down through the center of it is where the spinal column is. Now, where we're going from there is we're going to now realize that all of it is really connected to the torus field. Most of us have worked together, are very familiar with the torus field. It's the field of divine mind that is approximately 12 feet above us, 35 to 40 feet around us, and 12 feet beneath us. The golden wave of energy within the center of the torus field of divine mind is the field of the soul. And then the physical body is approximately that size within this field. And it is from the very center of the torus field that there is then the tube of light that is the spinal column. And as we are then being centered within the heart, we're in the very center of the torus field. And from out of the open doorway, life force is then going up. And as we are watching the star tetrahedron turn from left to right, it is the torus field that is then also moving from left to right. And so it goes up and it moves out left to right around. It flows down and around, and then in a counterclockwise, it spins and then comes back up to the coccyx at the base of the spine, and then once again goes up the spinal column as a pure tube of light, and then once again out left to right, spinning out and around. So that is the movement of the divine mind that is being fed from the open doorway within the center of the heart. It's the pulsing of the heart, so to speak, but at a much deeper level, it's the breath of spirit that is moving from inside out, that is then creating the movement of divine mind. The divine mind, the great being you are, is then created the energy field of the soul. The soul is the being that has been moving through time, space, gathering incarnation after incarnation to learn about physical life. And now comes the time where all of that is then woven back together. And now the soul, which is out here as a circular wave of energy, esoterically collapses into a prismatic form of power and light, which is the star tetrahedron. And so the star tetrahedron is then the collapsing of the soul into a unity experience, the mystical marriage that then allows the open doorway within the very center of the heart to then emanate source light from it. It is then the divine mind up and around that is enabled to hold image and imagination, and through the prismatic flow of source, through the star tetrahedron, living light, it then manifests and creates reality. It's much less complicated than one might think, but it's the tube of light up and down that is the spinal column. So this time we're going to do another level of breath work, and we're going to breathe out again from the open doorway. And as we breathe out from the open doorway, we're going to breathe up. And as we're breathing up, we're going to breathe up, and we're going to see then the torus field moving left to right. We're going to watch it flow completely down around us. It is then going to turn in a counterclockwise way. It's going to touch the base of the spine, and then we're then going to breathe up. And then once again, with the open heart, we're going to breathe up and out, watching the torus field circulate in a movement out, around, beneath, counterclockwise, back up. It's a very slow, rhythmic breathing. So let's just do a couple of breaths. Let's see if we have any questions first, do we?
Ashley
Yes.
has a
Hi, Ash.
question. She says, is the mana the same as snowflakes of grace we've worked with before?
It is. It's just we're becoming more focused with actually the creation of it. Good question.
This is from Annalise.
Hi, Annalisa.
I'm finding that my mind is quieter with this deeper breath than with the Soham breath.
Good, good. The Soham is, again, the sound of source as it arises forth from within. But as we are then also stimulating the vagus nerve, the body is calming down because we're actually then being focused on feeding the physical form, letting it then feel the feeling of walking with nature, of being in the outdoors, being with loved ones. That's when the vagus nerve, the nerve of compassion and peace, you see, is centered. And then we're no longer thinking. The only reason most of us are thinking all the time is because we're looking for something. We're looking for love. We're looking for a relationship. We're looking for validation. We're looking. But when there's a feeling of love and peace within, from walking in Mother Nature, being with a loved one, being with a pet, there's a sense of peace. And then the vagus nerve is simply functioning as it was meant to function. The mind is quiet. The heart is open. Love is being experienced and felt. You can do the breathing, the deep belly breathing with the Soham down to the base of the spine. Again, walking, driving, at work, whenever there's a moment of tension in your life, you can simply take 4, 5, 10, 15 deep breaths, belly breathing down, base of the spine, from the open doorway, and once again, then breathing up. So in this particular breath right now, again, we're using a lot of breath techniques to open ourselves to the experience of mana and the creation of it. We're going to, again, from the open doorway, we're going to breathe out. So we're going to watch the breath, if you will, spiral up and out this tube of light. And as it spirals up and out, we're going to observe it going out very slowly. It then turns, touches, as it then spirals up to the base of the spine, and then we breathe up. Opening the doorway. Up. So it goes out, it goes left to right. As it flows in from the bottom, it's the Kundalini energy that goes in right to left up the spine. Once again, then from the heart. Up and out, touching the base of the spine, right to left. All with deep belly, slow breathing. Breath is our connection to source. It is source. There is a breath that is the very underlying breath of the entire universe. It's the breathing of source. Our individual breath is connected to that breath of source within the universe, but we get so caught up in the mind, we shallow breathe. We're no longer breathing with source. And so as we purposely open the doorway, up, out, back up and through. We're breathing with source. So let's go ahead and do this breath for about 3 minutes, and then we'll talk about it, and then do another 5 minutes of it. No effort, very easily. Breathing out. Up around, and then back up through. If you care to sit with eyes open, you can watch me spiral it with my finger. Up through. From the open doorway. Okay.
I think you may have answered Charles. He was saying it wasn't quite clear about the breathing.
Okay. Understood. So all of our work is about summoning spirit from the open doorway. We know that through the star tetrahedron work, if we simply bring our attention to the area of the heart chakra, that this is the area of the open doorway. And this exercise is teaching us to become familiar that we really live within the field of the torus field around us. It's really the field of the great divine mind, the great being we are, that is holding form, a almost like puppeteer, if you will, holds a puppet, and that is the physical body. The physical body has become so enamored with itself and its ego, it has separated itself somewhat from the realms of the soul, and then even more importantly, from the divine mind that is the great architect of reality. But we know as we are doing our tetrahedron work that we are marrying back together these opposites of mind and heart, which then creates the open doorway. But more importantly, as I said earlier, it is the field of the soul, which is this golden field of energy within the center of divine mind. That divine mind, the mind of God, the great being you are, created the soul in order to gather information within the physical worlds of form. And so the soul is incarnating over and over again, moving through all 12 signs of the zodiac to gather information about how to be a perfected human form, a perfected human being. And once all that information is gathered and we are then given this work as you now have it, as I was given it, you are now initiated into another level of your awakening. That is the awakening of the Christ field. And so the soul, through our intention and focus, we learn how to collapse it esoterically back into a formulation of a prismatic power and love, which is what the soul has been gathering information about through time space, how to use power effectively and how to use love effectively. And now we are collapsing all that information back into a prismatic form of consciousness and light that now lives and moves and circulates within and around you. It is doing that because the divine mind, over many incarnations with the soul, has created that to be so. But now, divine mind, the great field of the great being you are, has an instrument. That instrument is the Christ field, the open doorway, through which it can then allow source to arise forth. It touches the facets of the spinning prismatic structure, power and light unified. And as source streams through and as it touches the facets, it then creates living sunlight emanating from you, life force. But it is then divine mind that will now take that emanation of source light from you, and divine mind will then hold focus and intentionality upon imagination, and then use that source emanation to actually manifest and create life. This is the great creator God being you are. It now has an open doorway of material through the star tetrahedron, and it is then able then to create life and manifest. Literally, you become a God being. And so that's the great goal, you see, of the work that we're doing. And so I'm simply initiating you and introducing you into another level of who and what you really are. And the breath is then part of that work. And so, as I said, to assist you in becoming familiar with the field of the torus around you, because it's from the interior of the torus, which is the womb of the great being you are. If you can imagine, this is the mind womb that created the soul. The soul has gathered the information necessary to collapse itself back into the star tetrahedron. The star tetrahedron now spins rapidly and opens the doorway back into source. And as source now arises forth within a three-dimensional world for the first time in and through you, divine mind, the great God you are, can use this material through the emanation of light around you to become a creator God, literally. Creator being, literally. No longer human, but truly human divine. One can then heal, one can manifest, one can create their reality. And so I'm giving you a preview of what is the evolution of humanity and giving you the tools in order to begin to architect this through your daily life and through your own focus and intentionality. So the breath is what we're doing now. We're simply breathing from the open doorway, very center. And I'm inviting you to see yourself now. You're breathing source up because it does spiral up. And this is the movement of the torus field around you. The torus field turns in the exact same way that the star tetrahedron turns. The upper triangulation of the star turns to left to right. The field of the torus within you up above is turning left to right. It flows down around you, way, way out around you. It flows beneath you and then circulates in a counterclockwise movement. So divine mind then gathers itself at the coccyx at the base of the spine. The essence of love of the star tetrahedron is turning counterclockwise this way. And as then divine mind is moving up the spinal column tube through the center of it, it is then the star tetrahedron that is spinning around that pure tube of light of divine mind. And then divine mind is then truly learning then how to architect life from inside out. Because the dimensions of existence from source are within, and this is simply the bubble of creation that is the great dream of source from inside the void. Okay? So, any questions or thoughts about that? I want to be real clear about this breathing exercise.
Yeah, Charles had another question.
Please.
When do the lungs expand and contract during the cycle?
The lungs are the in-breathing. Just as we are breathing the Soham, we're breathing in. The lungs are opening, the So. The belly is then expanding, So. My belly's getting nice and big, breathing in, and then down around, and then exhaling back up and through. And so as we exhale, we should then be at the end of the in-breath as it reaches the spiral up to the heart. Then once again up. So breathing in. Base of the spine, lungs are now collapsing in. Pausing for a moment. Breath in. Base of the spine, lungs are collapsing, belly's going in. Mother Kundalini is rising up. Up and out. Touching the base of the spine. Back up and in. Other questions or thoughts about that? Is that real clear, Charles? Okay, so let's do that same breath again for about 3, maybe 5 minutes. Open doorway.
Charles just said yes.
Oh, good, good. Open doorway, breathing out. Again, if you want to sit with eyes open, you can watch my finger breathing it, or you can simply go inside and stay real focused with it. So again, everyone breathing out from the open doorway. Up, out, and all around, touching the base of the spine, breathing out. lungs collapsing. Pausing at the heart. Slow, deep, purposeful breath. Elongate the spine, breathing up. A few more breaths. We're doing the breath exercise to become familiar with the torus field. Some of us are quite familiar with it. We're just doing another level of focused clarity. So here's another image of the torus field that is completely up around. It is here where source emanates out of the heart chakra. And it is the heart that as we are breathing in from the open doorway, as we're breathing up, it goes up and out. And then the torus field breathes out around. It then moves in a counterclockwise spiral to the base of the spine, comes up to the heart. And it is the heart breath. This is where the breath of spirit, where God is literally breathing from inside out of you. It's what creates the breath of the torus field. It creates the movement of the star tetrahedron. And as the open doorway is now known, actually known and experienced because consciousness has created power and love to be unified, and the physical form is no longer ego-based, but simply the Christ field, divine mind can then, through the Christ field, summon light out, that then the torus field of divine mind can then use to create reality. And so the breath, I'm inviting you to sit and then feel this torus field up and around. Because what we're going to do, we're going to then see within the upper field of the torus, the inside of it, that is the Christ energy. Again, it is spoken of that it is the Eucharist, that is the body of Christ. Well, it's the Christ energy emanating from the open doorway through the star tetrahedron that sends out these particles of light that then touches the interior of the torus field. And as it then touches the womb of the torus field, it then creates it to begin to manifest mana. Mana then is that which drips down from the interior of the torus field as plasma, living plasma wave. The torus field is now seeding, just as you would seed something. The torus field is now dripping, creating these mana plasma field energy. It's like a dripping field of energy that as it then rains upon the physical form that is then moving within the torus field, it then creates the physical body to be different. It quickly changes it into the body of the transfiguration. And so when Christ, the great teacher, went upon the Mount of the Transfiguration, what he was doing was simply summoning source from the interior, filling the torus field with the living light of mana. And as the mana, the plasma field energy, fell upon the physical body, it immediately turned it back into a living body of light. That's what mana does. It changes the physical structure of form. So this is the field of energy that we're now going to do. We're going to imagine that we're breathing, and we're going to now imagine and feel the interior of the torus field. After we imagine with breath the interior of the torus field, we're going to couple it with the emanation of source light from the star tetrahedron, and then do a couple of meditations around creating mana. So any questions or thoughts about that? And if, when we get through, there's any particular questions and you want to get a hold of me in person or online, please do, because I want you to be clear about this particular process. It's less complicated than we think. It's just that it takes time to become familiar with it. So once again, we're going to do the breath work, breathing from the open doorway. Again, the explosive place of source emanation. This is the explosive place of source emanation. And it is the source emanation that is then creating the torus field in its movement. So this time, as we're breathing, I'm going to invite you to breathe from the open doorway. And as you're breathing up, you're watching the movement of, again, the torus field, but you're observing then the interior of this great field of energy that is like a bubble completely around, down beneath you, and then circulates back up through you. You live within a great bubble of divine electric blue energy called electric fire, the field of divine mind. And it is the field of divine mind that through many incarnations created then the collapsing of the soul into the star that then was able to open the doorway in great clarity and knowing to become a creator being. So let's go ahead and do about 3 to 5 minutes of breath where we breathe in. See and feel the interior of the torus field as it circulates around. When you look at it from interiorly up, it looks like a great umbrella up and around you, a great gigantic umbrella. So that can be a visual image that as you breathe up, you're looking at the interior of this great umbrella, and the umbrella goes down completely around you and then circulates once again beneath you as another turning umbrella of energy. So we're just learning how to become familiar with the true knowing of the great being you are, the torus field. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some breath, calling from the open, the explosive doorway of Source. And as we're then following it up, we're looking at the great interior umbrella, how it circulates completely around down beneath us and then comes back up as we're observing the umbrella beneath us. Knowing I am the explosive system of Source at the heart, that is observing the great body of the God I am, that is the great creator being. Let's breathe. Very slow, deep belly breath, pausing between inhale and exhale. Breathe slowly, deeply. Observe the interior of the torus field, the umbrella balloon of the great God being. Breathe. Deepen the breath. Slow it down. See the umbrella above and below. Breathe. Breathe the circulation of the torus field. Once again, a field of divine mind that from the explosive doorway at the heart, we are breathing up and it moves counterclockwise from left to right. We're breathing it out. We are seeing and feeling it then moving counterclockwise, the base of the spine. And it is then this tube of light that once again to the heart, up and out and all around. We are learning how to be observant of the great torus field that created the star tetrahedron, to have an open doorway back into source, to summon light, that through the divine mind, to then hold image and imagination and be a creator God. And it is from the interior doorway that as the Christ energy flows out, the star tetrahedron, it then sends rays of light up to the interior of the torus field, and then it rains mana upon us, beginning to change the body very dynamically, to structure it into the light body that can then move within a three-dimensional world of time, space, and still be a creator God within esoteric form. So, any questions before we take a break, please?
Yvonne.
Hi, Yvonne.
Yvonne says, is this breath work relate to what it says in Genesis, where it says, then the Lord God formed the man of dust?
And breathe life nostril into his nostrils. That's exactly right. The dust was formed, but it is then the breath interiorly that literally comes from source. As I was saying, there is a breath, an energy of breathing that is the very essence of the whole universe. The whole universe is breathing a breath. It's an undulating breath. The breath that we have is part of that, and it is through that breath that then life functions, life flows. And it is this breath of life, you see, that then creates the electrical field of divine mind to move. And then divine mind then created a soul to gather information within three-dimensional worlds of form, a field of consciousness. That field of consciousness, the soul created physical life. We as the life, humans move through all the 12 signs of the zodiac and then perfected life, power and love. And now it collapses back into a star tetrahedron that then opens the doorway back into source, the true breath of life that then divine mind circulating through the breath is able to use to create reality. That's a very beautiful realization, Yvonne. Thank you. Anything else about the technique and about the feeling of it before we take a break? Please feel free to ask your questions either via chat or by texting due at 928 301 7332. The other, of course, very interesting thing about this, you see, is that the physical body becomes really ever more ephemeral each day because there's now more and more of a pressure to live beyond the body. The ego wants to keep us collapsed so tightly within its physical form and holding and making and doing in order to feel safe. But as we then learn that I am really a great God being and I have collapsed power and love into a unified field, we know that it's from interiorly that we arise source and then we create reality literally. And so there's tremendous peace. There's knowing that all things are fine. All things are moving in a flow that is architected by the great being that we move within, both not only our own great being, but the great being that is Mother Earth Gaia, the great being, the solar logos, that is the solar system that has a life force of electric blue torus field within it, that is then part of this great galaxy of the Milky Way. All of them are part of a torus field in ascending size, even down to an atom. An atom is also a torus field, but it's a minuscule torus field. And they say that then the electron is superposition. It's in all places simultaneously because the torus field is in all places simultaneously. And so from it, we can then be literally the entire body of God, or we can be the limited ego manifestation. So very, very exciting work. Okay, so it's 12 o'clock my time. Let's take a exact 10-minute break, and we'll be back then in 10 minutes, my friends. And then we'll continue onward and upward. Any questions over the break, be sure and get them to us, please. Any questions?
No, not yet.
Rituals.
But he's still breaking.
Did you get that chat one?
Hmm?
Did you get one of the chat ones from Rachel?
The last one was that one about laying down.
Huh.
Did another one come in?
Yeah. Surprised you didn't get it. Are you up to date on your?
Well,
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't shut off this time. I plugged my charger, but I'm everything else upstairs. We're not quite because you're talking.
Yeah, you have to, okay. Shoo. All right, welcome back, my friends. So we're working with the breath work to have an understanding that it's really the breath, the open doorway for within the heart chakra, that is really the breath of life that is moving the torus field, that is turning the star tetrahedron, that they're all vitally connected. But for so long, we were so identified with the physical form and the breathing of oxygen that we thought, well, that's what we're doing. We're breathing something out here. But in fact, we're coming to the knowledge that it's the open doorway, that is a seed of light originally from the great being we are, that then this seed atom, it is called, the seed atom that then has been creating this whole field and even the physical form to now finally open the doorway fully and completely, so that source from the open doorway now has a way to create within three-dimensional worlds of form. It is through the Christ system, this prismatic form of consciousness and light, that all physical creation arises forth. A sun, a star, a galaxy, an atom, an earth, all have a torus field around them, and all of them emanate from an interior seed of breath, of life from the one, the great one. And so it's really from inside out, so to speak, that source is creating life. We think that life is out there. Well, this is the outer manifestation, but it's through the open doorway, the explosive system of light within, that all creation is truly taking place. And now we are entering into that knowledge. And from the outer form, we are then summoning source to be then the joy of our creation, the next evolution, literally, of humanity. So in this particular meditation, I'd like to move back to the breath, and we'll do the breath for about 3 to 4 minutes. Again, breathing up, torus field around, and then back up the spine. And then we're going to move right into the creation of the star tetrahedron once again, because it is the star tetrahedron that is the Christ system, that when the doorway is open, this substance comes out, that it then flows up. And we will see that it then flows up into the interior womb of the great torus field around us. And because we become so much now more familiar with this great womb of energy that is the true being we are, the Christ wave will then go up and then touch the upper atmosphere of this great torus field, the womb. And then you will begin to see and feel that these plasma circles, I don't necessarily see them as circles. I see them kind of even irregular. It's like this snowflake of grace that begins to flow down from above, and you begin to feel it touching the physical form as you're within the work of the star tetrahedron, and it begins to dynamically recreate the physical body to be more light imbued, which allows us then to be able to focus ever more upon the great being that we are, that is creating this whole system. So I'll simply take you through the whole manifestation of this work. Once we begin, the star tetrahedron will be within it for about 30 to maybe 35 minutes, and I'll keep reminding you that as you're seeing the essence that is coming from the open doorway through the star, it is then touching the upper limits of the torus field, and this great umbrella womb is then raining the snowflakes of manna from heaven upon you. Okay? So if we should like to close the eyes and begin to feel the body relaxing. And as the body is relaxing, we're going to move, first of all, into, once again, the very deep, slow, rhythmic breathing. From out of the open doorway in the very center of the chest, the heart, we're going to breathe out. And as we're summoning and breathing source out, is moving up in a circular way, touching the very top of the torus field. We're observing the torus field all around. And as the breath and the lungs collapse in, we then see and feel the movement of life up the spinal column. Torus field breathing in, up, circulating all around, deep, slow, belly breathing. Becoming familiar with the umbrella of the great torus field above, all around and beneath as we breathe. It is the breath that is circulating the torus field. We're becoming observant that we are breathing from out of the open doorway, breath up, that circulates the great field of the torus. We observe it flowing down around, and then with in-breath, we observe it breathing back up the spine, a pure tube of light. And then from the heart, breathing up the pure tube of light, circulating left to right, out and all around. Observe the umbrella, front, back, a great umbrella. It flows down behind you, around you, in front, beneath. There's no effort. We're simply observing the great umbrella that the breath from the open doorway is circulating up all around, beneath, and back up a tube of light that is the spine. This is called the rod of initiation. Breathing. And as we are now aware of the great umbrella of energy, the torus field all around, we will ignite the star tetrahedron by bringing our attention between the eyebrows of light. And within the center point of the head, we ignite the electric blue light of divine mind. The site and place where we focus the light, the pineal gland, electric blue light filling the mind. Imagination is the key. We imagine and feel within the area of the heart chakra, the star tetrahedron. Upper triangulation, apex above, divine power is turning left to right, just as the torus field way above turns left to right. Divine love, apex beneath, at the base of the spine, turning right to left, just as the torus field beneath turns right to left. And the center of the star is the tube of light. And as the star tetrahedron turns, we observe in the very center the explosive system of the open doorway. Light, source as an eternal spring arising forth, touching the facets of the spinning star to become living light emanating. This is the Christ field, a nuclear wave of energy now emanating from source. Let's sit quiet together for about 10 minutes in the star tetrahedron, and I will then take you from the movement of the star to the creation of mana. But be with the star in the turning of the star tetrahedron in the open doorway. I will join with you and gather us all together into this light activation. You can be with the breath to move the star. It's all part of the system. So hum. still deep inside within the torus field now. As the star is turning, use the breath to identify the upper umbrella of the torus field. Using the breath to see the turning. Up, completely around, beneath. And as the light from the Christed system, the star, that touches the interior of the great torus field, and snowflakes of mana begin to fall upon the physical body, transforming the transfiguration of the body into light. If it helps, be with the breath, no effort. Observe the star tetrahedron turning, the open doorway, and light activating the interior of the torus field to create mana, the food of the heavens, settling upon and all around and through the body. All right. Pam Taylor was asking the question about the number 12. And of course, the 12 is the interior of the torus field, the dodecahedron. This is the interior 12-faceted dodecahedron, symbolic of course, the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 12 labors of Hercules, where he then, through his labors, was able to find courage, patience, all the 12 virtues of a great human. And then, of course, he was given the golden. Of course, it is said that there are 12 chakras, and that, of course, the 7 at the top of the head, and then 5 more on up above. And I think my feeling is the 5th at the very top would be the top of the torus field. And then at that very top, the 12th, there is then a pure crystalline light, the light of Source God, that then differentiated itself into many lights in order to then create the torus field and the system of creation. As far as other things around the number 12, I think Ed Ferrero sent me a little, must have been a knowledge, something about the number 12, and I will send that out to everyone so that you can review it. But the most important part, I think, is that 12 is the interior facets of the star tetrahedron, the dodecahedron, which is symbolic of the 12 signs of the zodiac. In the Essene schools, and we talked about this in one of the meditations recently, in the Essene schools long ago, the priest had a breastplate, and on the breastplate there were 12 jewels. And of course, each one of the signs of the zodiac is represented by one of the jewels, a diamond, a ruby. So these priests wore a breastplate with the 12 jewels that signified that they were the master of these 12 qualities that was symbolic of. The jewel represents the particular constellation, the 12 signs of the zodiac. And of course, it was just an exterior, something that they put on to kind of posture that they knew about the dodecahedron. But in fact, when you do research, you find that each one of the signs of the zodiac is represented by one of the minerals in the mineral kingdom. And so this is some of the number 12 also. But other than that, like I said, I'll send you the information from Ed. Any other questions on your end, Drew?
No.
Okay. So any thoughts or questions that you can come up with about this particular system? It is a system that begins from the explosive doorway. Originally, it was but a seed atom, they called it, a very tiny seed, which was the place where the doorway opened into Source. The seed then, as it finally becomes the blossoming, the birthing, it becomes in the full Christed system, the doorway. And it's from out of this open doorway through the crystalline structure of power and love unified, mind and heart, power and love, that is Source as the living spring arises forth through the 12 facets of the dodecahedron and then touches the moving facets of the star tetrahedron it refracts and reflects then source out into a multidimensional display holographically. It's then, more importantly, you see then the torus field of divine mind, this great field that is this tube of light that goes up the spine, that then circulates up and out through the breathing of the open doorway. It's the breath that moves the torus field, the circulating of divine mind, to create activity. Breath is activity, breath is life. And so not only is the breath of the physical form, it's the breath of the torus field of mind that is then circulating around, that then can use that which is the emanation of the star tetrahedron, life force. My feeling is, just as our physical suns emanates a life force from it, the same substance that emanates from you when you open the doorway, my feeling is that there is around our whole solar system a torus field of electric blue divine mind that then takes that emanation of the sun and then architects the planets and architects life upon the planets. And so it's the divine mind that simply uses the substance of the sun, which is life, to then actually then manifest and create physical life structure. It seems that that is the same within the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, that there is another unseen field of divine mind that holds the galaxy. And we know in the very center of the Milky Way, there is a gigantic black hole. And from out of that black hole source, again, arising forth, the body that is the emanation of that great black hole at the center of the galaxy is the stars. That's the atoms and the molecular structure of the Milky Way. And that is the open doorway that then creates that physical emanation. And so on throughout the whole universe. It's the adage, I think may have been Pythagoras, as above, so below. It is simply whatever is the atom, it's mirrored in the physical form as the torus, in Earth as the torus, in the sun, in the solar system, and finally even in the galaxy. So on and on and on. Anything, my friend?
Just the comment from Rachel that said it was just so lovely.
Well, thank you. It's so lovely. It's so beautiful that we now have the knowledge of this complete system, and through then the emanation of the Christ star, the star tetrahedron, it creates this living sunlight that, as we found in our work today, it then literally moves up into the upper fields of the torus, the field of divine mind, and then it's like a womb raining down upon us. You see, as manna, the manna of heaven. And as it touches the physical body, and as you play with this in your meditation, you'll find that it begins to very dynamically move through the transfiguration of the physical form into the body of light. And then, of course, that is the ultimate goal of a human divine, to create the body of light. And this is of manna from heaven. This is, for some reason, it showed it more as balls of light, but usually it's in the iconography of art that there is some truth, some wisdom. So once again, you see up above the blue field, you see the open doorway, the dark open doorway, and falling from out of it is in manna, the substance of life. And now we are learning how to be the actual manifestors, the calling, the summoning of the manna of heaven. So another very beautiful image picture.
You know, I've had a thought
Please.
about, now that we've been through this glorious initiation or process, we may have some unusual and interesting feelings, you know, from this point on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is, of course, changing dramatically as we do this initiatory work of course, we're going to find that our meditations are much different. The feelings that we experience through life, they're much calmer, more peaceful. We have become more the observer. We're no longer locked into just the acknowledgement of the physical form of the ego. We're quietly not so much putting the ego to death as we are so loving it, it surrenders to that which is its creator, which is the Christ field, and above that, the field of divine mind, the great God being you are. And so there is that adage that says, I surrender to the will of God. Well, the will of God is held within the torus field of divine mind all around you, that is the God that you are, that has created the torus field, that's created then the soul, that has then created the physical form, and now it's integrating it all back into a unified field, And then as again, just like in the very center of the Milky Way, the dark doorway opens into the void. It's where all things already exist. Everything already exists within the field of the unmanifest, within the body of Source, God, whatever you like to call it. It already exists unmanifest. And so a system needed to be created to simply reflect the unmanifest into physical manifestation. And that is then the Christ system. It then creates sparkling, effervescent, living light. That is then the open doorway is there. Interiorly is all creation. Everything is unmanifest. And as we then esoterically illuminate within the void that which we choose to create, it then creates a reflection off of it like a mirror. That mirror then moves through the facets of the dodecahedron, the star tetrahedron, and then it is then the field of divine mind that, holding focus upon it, creates it to be manifest. So one of the things that, of course, I just said is that the unmanifest within the interior of the heart chakra, within the open doorway, the void, is where all things already exist. And so there exists within this open doorway the image of the perfect being that you are, that is seeking to reflect itself within physical form. And so I'd like to do a little bit of a meditation now for about 15 minutes, where we again do the star tetrahedron, and we open the sacred doorway. And as we then esoterically peer into the void, again, it's not out there, it's within you. I want to invite you to image in, to imagine the greatest being you can, that is yourself. When I look into the interior doorway and I see the great being I am, I see a being that their body is absolutely filled with light. It is gossamer and it glows, radiant with a white gold. That is, the white gold is emanating from this being. This actually has a substance that almost drips and falls upon the ground all around this great being. And then I see the brow chakra of this great being I am, that is unmanifest, as a pure, almost electric silver blue energy of just such clarity and precision that holds focus unwaveringly. And then I see this great being I am with literally a crown, a golden crown that is open wide. And then up above, I see a tube of light that goes up to this pure electric blue field of light that is up and all around me. And so I know that that is the great being I am that exists unmanifest, that I am now learning to reflect into this three-dimensional form, this three-dimensional world, through the system of the star tetrahedron and the torus field. So let's do the star tetrahedron meditation. And when the doorway opens, I want to invite you to see within it the great being you are, that already exists within the unmanifest, already perfect, that you are learning how to reflect into this dimension. How would you see this great God, goddess being you are? The more precise you can image it in, the more it's going to create a reflection off of it, It's that reflection that then comes through the doorway, and then it is the star tetrahedron that then makes it coordinate in time space as the manna from heaven then falls upon the physical body and gives it the substance of the transfiguration. Okay, so let's do about a 15-20 minute meditation of that, and then we'll close for the day. So let's feel the body relaxing. And be aware of the breath. We know that we breathe from inside out now. It's through the open doorway that is what circulates the torus field of divine mind that then turns the star tetrahedron, that opens the doorway even further interiorly. And we bring our attention between the eyebrows, and we ignite the electric blue light, the outpost of divine mind within the area of the pineal gland within the head. We focus that light to the heart chakra at the sternum and ignite with imagination. Whatever we imagine and see becomes real. We create the star tetrahedron. Power and love, mind and heart unified. Upper triangulation, apex above, is turning left to right, clockwise. Lower triangulation, right to left, counterclockwise. Counter-rotating triangles then open the doorway, the dodecahedron in the very center, into the void. And from out of its source, like a living spring arising forth, up above you, the torus field of divine mind, up and all around. And you now choose to image and see within the open doorway the great being, perfect in every way you already are. It is reflecting through the open doorway and through the Christ system, becoming manifest within physicality. I will join with you, and we will create the body of perfection. Well, as we come to the close today, of course, I want to thank each and every one of you for being with us. I reached out to, of course, everyone during the meditations and created a light activation for all of us. So thank you. It enlivens my meditation quite beautifully. What we learned today, we did a lot of work with the breath. First of all, the So-Hum breath. And we learned that the So is the summoning from source interiorly, So. And then the hum is the gentle letting go. And we can do the So-Hum breath walking, driving. It relaxes the body. It is a summoning of source and keeps the mind quiet and focused. So a very good tool in this time when emotions or feelings come up to quickly go to the So-Hum breath. We then worked with the breath and the vagus nerve that goes from the coccyx to the base of the spine up to the head region and splits and then comes into the area of the brain pineal gland. And the vagus nerve is the nerve of compassion and peace. And it is stimulated when we're outdoors, when we're with loved ones, when the mind is silent and there's a feeling of connection, and the body is then in a very deep, quiet place of peace and satisfaction. Well, we can, by doing deep belly breathing, we can again breathe in from source and breathe with the belly down to the base of the spine and activate Mother Kundalini, connection to earth. And then as we breathe up, we can then breathe up to the pineal gland and that deep belly breathing, a pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. We then begin to activate the vagus nerve and soothe the body. It's a great way to begin, in fact, our meditation as we do our hopefully twice daily meditation. We then learn that we can then summon from the interior of the open doorway the breath, that what is really happening as the breath comes in is the breath from source that is actually moving. It's the electrical impulse that moves the torus field around us, the true great being we are. And as in-breath comes up, it then circulates left to right the torus field. It then turns, and then with out-breath, it then spins up, touches the base of the spine, and becomes a pure tube of light up the spine. That's what the spine is. It's the tube of light that is the center of the torus field. And it's around this centered spine, which is often called the rod of initiation, that then the star tetrahedron is turning. The star tetrahedron, which is a summation of all of your lifetimes through all the 12 signs of the zodiac, that you now bring power and love, and you collapse the soul that was then architecting and creating life into a structure that is a crystalline structure of light and of power and love, that then lives as a light quantum form within, through, and around you. And it is then the turning of this star tetrahedron that is now a very faceted prismatic structure, just as this beautiful crystalline. You see how perfectly faceted it is. If you hold this in the light, it then reflects the prismatic rainbow of life. Well, you have, through our work, and what we're doing is creating a very beautiful, faceted, crystalline structure of light and consciousness, power and love, the summation of all 12 signs of the zodiac and all the qualities into then the star tetrahedron. And the interior doorway, the dodecahedron, is then the facets of those 12 signs of the zodiac, all the qualities of a perfected man, woman. And as the star tetrahedron is turning, of course, it then opens the doorway, because you can be trusted with all the powers of heaven and earth as source in its raw substance arises forth. It touches the facets of the star, and then literally becomes a holographic reflection of a multiplication of light from you, that then divine mind can look through the open doorway. It can observe within the doorway what already exists unmanifest. And as divine mind illuminates within the open doorway what it would choose to create, be it prosperity, be it a relationship, be it a divine and perfect body that we did in the last meditation, you see that within the void. It creates a reflection off of it. It comes through the living waters of the star, and then it is the divine mind that then holographically makes that coordinate real in time space. And it is then the energy that comes from the star tetrahedron that touches the interior facets, the interior of the great divine torus, and then like snowflakes of grace, mana falling upon you, which is then the transfiguration of the physical body into the light body of the living Christ. So we learned about that complete system and the working with it. Again, 4:30 and 7:30 twice a day, we do our meditation. If you want to be part of that texting, please let me know. And if you have any questions about the great work we did today, please feel free to contact me personally, either by phone or online or any way you choose. Come visit me. And and of course, once again, I want to thank you so much for participating today. It was just a marvelous and a very exciting day. And you have all the tools, once again, for your enlightenment and the light bearing light that you are, that then feeds the earth. And this is why we're here, to really then, through this sunlit crystalline system, to feed the earth and create a new paradigm of heaven on earth. We are those who have been called to that great work. So thank you very much once again. Great blessings upon you, and be well, be at peace, emanate light, and health and prosperity and joy will come unto you. Money back guarantee. All right, loves. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.